from the Guerrilla Cricket account, went on for way too long, and it was by blind luck that it worked. I thought his short ball spell to Labuschagne before lunch was very interesting and very challenging. But certainly once you saw Ollie Robinson moving the ball at the other end, as this one, Josh Butler, who takes it waist height outside off stump, left alone by Labuschagne, there is no run. Certainly once you saw Ollie Robinson get the ball to move away a little bit and square Stephen Smith up, it seemed like a plan that was persistent with for too long.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I just have the sense, and it's not surprising given how it's gone for them, that England are just a bit shambolic at the moment, to be honest, and the fielding's pretty ordinary as well.
I'm not sure I agree with that, as this is outside off stump and there is no run. Some of the ground fielding's been a little bit weird, but I don't think England have been shambolic at all today. Certainly I've seen England fall apart more than this recently.
Yes, that's true.
I was there on the final day at Lord's this year.
Oh, yes.
Right. I seem to have sorted it. But you three
done.
carry on. Let me go and make a cup of coffee and then I'll come back.
Well, we're certainly back on the website. I've just heard it. People were talking about some issues going on the website, but I think it seems to have been sorted now if the little play I just had is anything to go by. Last ball of the over from Stuart Broad comes into Labuschagne, who pushes into the onside, and there is no run. Australia 202 for 2, a maiden from Stuart Broad.
On the tweets then, Farong, since 1992 to 2020, slow over rates have been breached 507 times. 213 red ball, 294 white offences. Still trying to find out where the fine stroke.
See, that's
money
one of those.
goes.
That's one of the. There's a website called isthisabigNumber.com. You would need to know how many games have been played in that time period to work out whether that's actually significant or not.
Well, that's aside. 507 lots of fines. Be nice to know where it's all gone.
Well, indeed. I mean, England's men's football team donate their match fees to charity because essentially they don't need them. Of course, they're not paid by the England football team. I think it obviously matters more for non-contracted players. Hasib Hamid is the only player in this 11 who doesn't have a central contract. Root is in, fires this one into the pads, or into the hip of Stephen Smith, who has basically just had a watching brief. So tickles this into the onside. But a slightly too easy start for Stephen Smith after a testing examination from Ollie Robinson earlier today. Slipping a leg slip in now for Labuschagne. This one does turn, but turns slowly in from too short, and it's flat batted by Labuschagne to mid-off, and there is no run. As Root is in, it starts too straight, and this one is turned to backward square leg, who comes in quickly, James Anderson, and gets the throw back in just a single.
Right, I'm back.
Oh, right. Good. Okay, I'll leave you to it.
Don't know what went wrong there, but something strange happened. Root is in, and it's just worked around the corner past leg slip, who is Hamid, maybe leg gully, and they'll get themselves yet another single.
Not to step on your toes, fourthie, but Farong has just said hot mic is all sorted, so I think that we are back on all platforms. By the way, I think I know what that bleeping noise is we occasionally hear in the background. I think it's there's an iPad in the studio that I think keeps plugging and unplugging itself.
Nah, it's not even plugged in. I don't know what it is, but that wouldn't be picked up. I don't know where it's coming from, that one. So that is driven up to wide, deepish mid-off, where Ollie Robinson is fielding, and there is a single.
I don't know if this is just in my headphones. You're a bit echoey, Bear.
Am I?
Let me listen to it back and see if I can pick it up.
Oh, it shouldn't be echoey on the thing. It's not echoey in my ears anyway. That's down the leg side, and a wasted delivery as Smith just lets it through, and there ain't no run.
No, it's just the Zoom call. It's not going out, the echo.
Josie Oak, a schooner is 425 millilitres. Thank you very much.
Which
Josie.
is only just short of a pint, surely.
Leah,
a pint is 568.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great knowledge. Leah, here in northern Germany, we drink the North German style Pilsner, which generally comes in half-litre bottles. Josie Oak lager drinkers shouldn't be allowed to express an opinion about beer because they know nothing about beer. Mog, if I actually drank beer, I'd have been absolutely enthralled by your conversation. Just goes to show not all Australians drink beer, including me, actually. Warren, watching the interview with Lou Boucher, the capabilities of the Spider Cam is bewildering to me. Yes, well, just some more complaints about the audio. I think we all know about that sort of feedback. Yeah, tinnitus. Yeah, talking to yourselves. Sure.
Oh, some people are saying that the echo is going out.
Some high-pitched whining. It's all about the audio, which is not what we want to hear about, but I totally understand. Mog concludes, I'm nothing if not a complainist.
Jeff on YouTube says, oh, sorry, it's me, isn't it? I just worked in leg side and there's no run. He says there's no echo on YouTube. Any echo on hot mic people?
Yeah, let me see if I can find hot mic. Actually, I've got to get YouTube up again now. Just took it down.
It's interesting. Chris Woke's back into the attack to replace Broad. So with Anderson and Robinson with the new ball?
I don't know. I mean, they won't have a lot of time with it, will they? That one's left alone by Labuschagne through to the keeper, and there ain't no run.
Or even with Labuschagne well set and Smith not looking in particular trouble, you could actually just end up leaking a load of runs with the new ball.
Well, that is the other thing, isn't it?
Probably it's still worth it just because you might get a bit more seam movement out of it, and seen that Smith has been squared up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Thumbs up on YouTube to various comments that it all sounds good there, so that's good.
Defended the offside and there's no run.
Now people on the audio stream are saying that there's an echo coming from the studio. The joys of independent broadcasting in the age of COVID.
Yeah, it's difficult when I'm sat here as well. I can't really do anything about it.
I speak as someone who's done a documentary on the joys of broadcasting in the era of COVID.
That's clipped up to mid-on and there's no run.
Farong says hot mic is all sorted. And Mrs. Clugston says sound gone from the website, throbbing tone instead. It's like spinning saucers.
I think that one's old because I just listened to it and it's... Sorry if you are hearing us fine and you're hearing us complaining about audio problems you're not having, but we do want to get this right.
It should be fine on the website. It depends. I mean, that depending on what streaming service you listen to, whether it's the website or other streaming services, that can be quite patchy. That's defended just behind square on the offside by Labuschagne and is no run. I mean, everything's coming. The studio sound goes direct to the website. It should be okay.
It's very strange how we can sometimes change no settings and then it somehow turns out completely different. Rory Burns has gone in at a stupid mid-on.
And on Hayden. That one's turned around the corner by Labuschagne. Square on the leg side. And I'm going to race back for two. That's good running. Butler takes the stumps, but the throw wasn't quick enough. Putting a lot of pressure.
Non-tinnitus related tweets. Leah, I think the fines end up in the noses of executives. So young and so cynical, Leah. But probably there might be some truth in it.
That's a lot of nose bag for some executives.
Jamie the White, Warner's Leap. He did have some sort of a sponsorship deal with Toyota, the Oh What a Feeling Leap. Not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg, if you know what I mean.
He does the leap to celebrate centuries, and then Toyota, who were sponsoring it at the time, turned it into an ad campaign. I saw him do it there was a video of him scoring 100 in grade cricket when he was, just after he came back from his ban, and he did it there.
Worked into leg side by Smith this time.
I'm very familiar with that Toyota Leap, and I had no idea it came from Warner originally. I assumed it was the other way around. Okay.
And in comes Root again, worked past. Leg gully now, actually, Hamid is that really. It's not a leg slip. But it's worked past him, and he'll get another single.
The ball is turning a little bit. Nathan
Lyon's going to have fun. Especially going into the latter stages of this test.
I was looking up earlier. Spinners at day-night tests in Adelaide.
Again, worked into the leg side, behind square. Once more, it'll be a single.
So Nathan Lyon has 19 wickets in day-night tests at Adelaide at 26. Ashwin has 5 wickets at 14. All others combined, 6 wickets at 130.
Wow. You have to be a good one then, eh? Clipped nicely by Smith, but straight at mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, this is true of bowling spin in Australia generally. Don't unless you're really, really good.
Yeah. Clipped once more past a leg gully for one more single to end. No, not to end the over. One ball left.
Would you say that Lyon is really, really, really good, or has just absolutely mastered Australian conditions?
Well, I mean, he's done pretty well in India too.
Yeah, that again is clipped past the leg stump, and there's no run.
I mean, you don't get 400 Test wickets without being a pretty good bowler.
No.
Well, some people still complain that Jimmy Anderson isn't that good.
Well, they're
because,
wrong.
He only does it at home. And
They're
they're
wrong.
definitely wrong. They're definitely wrong. You get no argument from me. Spangley side, blimey, today so far, TV's broken, and then there's gestures at the cricket. This, is it too early for beer? Benedetto.
I'm having a beer.
There he's back, but still sounds like he's on a stadium PA. I think that's been fixed, I hope so. Matt Searle, the bleeping noise sounds just like my house phone, and it's not quite back in the charger properly. Benedetto does confirm the echo is very much going out, Knuckle. And that's 3 minutes ago. Don't know whether it's been fixed since. Super echo on TuneIn.
That might be a tuning problem.
Interesting. Let us know if it's gone. I can hear an echo in my headphones somewhere, and I don't know where that's coming from. That was just in replays.
There's a really good ball from Chris Wokes. Again, a little bit of seam movement. There hasn't been much swing today, but I was reading some stuff about the pink kookaburra, and while beyond the first 30 overs it doesn't really swing, it does seem to seam more than the red kookaburra. Admittedly, they have now changed the red kookaburra. Interesting.
Defended up to mid-on, and there is no run.
I guess they have
Jamie
to
the
put-
Wise says we're Jamie the Wise says we're back on Radio Garden. To my great shame, I didn't even know we were on Radio Garden.
Oh, we're on all sorts of... people keep coming up with new radio streaming services that I've never heard of that you can listen to us on.
Yeah, that's because it's on Shoutcast, and so people can just get the address and...
It's a bit like if you have an RSS feed on a podcast, you find yourself on all sorts of podcast players that you never knew existed.
Wokes in and defended up to mid-on, and there is no run.
Yes, I can absolutely confirm that's happened to me. People say, "Oh, I love you on Podbean." I didn't even know what Podbean was.
I'm self-hosting the podcast I've just launched.
Are you? From your website?
Yeah.
Didn't know that was even possible. Oh, the things have really changed if you can self-host.
I would plug them, but we're not being sponsored by them. So
Wokes is in, and that's defended out into the covers, and there's no run.
they are a popular website hosting service, and if you've ever listened to a podcast in the last 5 years, you'll know exactly who they are.
This is nice from Rocky B. We appreciate what you do. The respite from the usual drivel from Warren Chapel War is much appreciated.
Wokes is in, and that's just defended out to mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Thank you, Benedetto. We appreciate it.
That was Rocky B.
Rocky, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Wokes is coming into bowl. Oh, gets the outside edge of the bat as Smith does what Smith does and goes right across his stumps. Can't work it into leg side. There ain't no run.
This is why the short ball thing was so frustrating. If you can land it on a good line and length enough, there's enough in this pitch that even Smith and Labuschagne are getting squared up, and they're really, really good.
Farong has very helpfully posted the complete grid, state by state, of what every beer is called, ranging from small beer to pony to butcher to schooner to middy to pint to jug. And if you're fascinated by that, you can go and have a look at the tweet.
I've
Oxy-
retweeted it for your
lovely.
beer looking at needs.
Pleasure.
That is worked into the leg side, and there is no run. And yeah,
The more I look at this, I think the more England are going to take the new ball.
Root just floats that up. It's driven by Labuschagne up to mid-off, and there ain't no run.
There's no reason for Joe Root to be basically running through his overs if England aren't trying to maximise the amount they get with the second new ball.
Yeah, worked into leg side, and once more there is no run.
Other than,
He's
of course,
also
of course, protecting pocketbooks and notional World Test Championship points.
Yeah, Root.
he's also a bowler of leg theory, isn't he? Just to be negative about it.
Worked once more into leg side, and there is no run.
They've obviously watched what India did to Smith and Labuschagne when they tried to take the offside out as a scoring option, and it worked.
What, to these two, as that's worked square on the leg side and there's no run? Yeah, but then you've got to figure out how you're going to get them out on the leg side. And, because they go so far across their stumps, that's fine. You've got to bowl straight, but you do give runs away. Root in again, that does turn reasonably sharply, but it's a bit too short, and Smith can just play it from the crease and worked in the leg side, there's no run.
What they did was set, not wildly leg side dominant, but leg side dominant fields, single savers in mid-wicket and square leg, and then it made the ball that does seam away or hold its line all the more dangerous. And Ashwin had Steve Smith caught at leg gully a couple of times. Okay, it relied on Bumrah bowling really well, Siraj bowling really well, Ashwin bowling really well. You do have to have you have to have the quality to do it, but there's no reason why Robinson and Broad shouldn't, in theory, have the ability. Okay, they're not as quick, but at least it's a consistent plan. Because they tried bowling way outside off stump to Stephen Smith for 3 years and it didn't work.
No. Yeah, exactly, because he just leaves it, or he gets so far across and still works it into the leg side. I think you're better off bowling at the stumps at him. Wokes is in and bowls pretty straight at Labuschagne, looking to work it in the leg side. Can't get it there, and there's no run.
At least you can try and you make it harder for him to go through the offside, unless it's really full, because he is a good cover driver of a ball. Labuschagne doesn't play that shot as much. Yeah, I was dead set against bowling too straight, because Smith never seems to miss a straight ball, but it took me kind of watching India to be convinced of its efficacy.
Left alone outside the off stump, and there's no run. I mean, this is the thing. I think Smith, you just got to bowl reasonably straight and pack the leg side field. Whether you go short, I don't know, but it's kind of what you got to do.
Neil Wagner tried that, but Neil Wagner's a freak.
Yeah. Weirdly, I watched the Jared Kimber video on Neil Wagner. Left alone outside the off stump by Labuschagne, and there is no run. And the stats
Anderson warming up.
The stats on Wagner are quite crazy.
Yeah, the extent to which he outstrips every other seam bowler in the world for bowling not just number of short balls, but good short balls and getting wickets with short balls. It's unreplicable by anyone else.
Yeah. That is just played back to the bowler. And Wokes.
It's good though that after all these years, people can still find different ways of playing cricket. No one could possibly recommend the Wagner method, but no one could possibly recommend the Steve Smith technique either.
No, indeed.
The thing about this, I think people get a bit wrong-headed about technique, because if you look at the basics of Labuschagne and Smith's technique, forget all the fiddly stuff, but it's not that unusual, is it?
Left alone outside the off stump, and there is no run.
The head's pretty much over off stump, the bat comes down pretty much straight. Everything's pretty much in alignment at point of release and point of impact. It's just it comes with a lot of weird visual flourishes.
Yeah, exactly. Anderson is warming up. Presumably the new ball is due at the end of this over. They've got 40 minutes left. I'd probably... oh, God, again. Labuschagne has been beaten outside that offside edge. quite a few times, and that's quite irritating. But
indeed, the play and miss is a good shot in Test cricket.
Well, it is, but I don't. This is the thing. I think he's actually playing at the ball. He's been. It's not genuine leave. He's been beaten.
No, it's not
on
a leave at all.
edge.
He's been beaten, but he isn't. He never follows the ball once he's been beaten. He's happy to be beaten rather than and look silly.
Looks like the new ball's been taken. Oxymoronic. I was quaffing draft unfiltered Pilsner Urquell last night. They elevates lager drinking to another level. Katie, tune in fine. Nestler's no echo on YouTube and Facebook. Warren asks, what's the deal with South Australia? He's referring to their strange arrangement of ponies, butchers, schooners, shared with the other states. But part of the beauty of living in Australia is the federated system and the distinctive nature of each of the states, of course. Nestler's echo gone now. Lee asked the question, did you notice an uptick in listener numbers since TMS can't be asked to post an overseas YouTube stream anymore? I'll come back to that. And Warren, every now and again, you transition to what I imagine the CIA torture technique sounds like.
Interesting. Didn't know we were... Well, we had no intention of being sort of General Noriega removal devices. Look it up.
Yeah, indeed.
I think they prefer Slayer, don't they, in torture techniques?
Well, Anderson is in with the new ball, and he looks red-faced and puffy and hot, and Smith just defends it into the leg side, and is no run. No great pace on that. He's only bowled 15 overs today, though. He's gone for 29, so reasonably. I mean, their scoring rate still is not massive, is it? 28. They're on.
No, far from it.
No, but Marnus Labuschagne is still going at 30, just over 2 runs per over. Stephen Smith going at well less than that. Even Warner only eventually picked it up to over 3 quite late in his innings.
You have to say, if they snaffled a couple of late wickets, it
could look a lot different.
Will.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Left alone outside the off stump of Labuschagne, especially if it's these two.
It's really annoying that Jeffrey boycotts. Okay, stop clock. He said a lot of things over the years. It's really annoying that keeps being right, but it's true.
What?
Yeah.
Add 2 wickets
Add
to score.
2 wickets to score.
Always, of course it does.
Unless you're 500 for 4 or something.
Here comes Anderson. He's in, and there's a little bit of swing there, but not a great deal. And it's left alone outside Smith's off stump, and there's no run. And what England have got to remember here is that they were put in. It looks like a decent batting track.
That Australia won the toss and elected to bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe Root said at the toss, without even being asked, I think, that he would have batted, because you just would.
Yeah, I mean, there's no overheads today to make you even think the other way, is there? And there's no green tinge in the wicket. You'd have just gone, it's Australia, it's hot, it's sunny. The pitch looks great. There's a bit of swing there. That's certainly gone. And Smith just lets it through to the keeper, and there's no run. I guess Anderson will be trying to figure out how much swing there is, if there is any, and that one certainly did.
It's also trying to... I mean, this is not easy to do with Stephen Smith, because his alignment of his head position is one of the best I've ever seen, but he's trying to drag him across to off stump and then maybe line him up with the one that doesn't move so much.
A little bit of an in-swinger, possibly. Late in-swing if he can get it to duck in. He's up to the crease now. And that one has come back a long way. Bit too short, though. I think you need that fuller. It's jagged back into Smith, not off the seam either. It's just like a banana that's come back into him.
I think that has come off the seam, but I don't think that's really replicable. Well, not replicable in the sense that not predictable, at least. Because I think with seam movement in general, bowlers don't really have a lot of control over which way it goes off the seam. The skill is to be able to, like with the spinner, being able to pitch it in the place where it's dangerous, whichever way it moves.
Well, indeed. That one's straighter, but Smith gets behind it and plays it up to mid-on. There's no run. I imagine if anyone can do anything about it, it'd be Jimmy.
Yeah.
World's premier exponent of it, really.
He's as close to being able to control the uncontrollable as anybody.
Richard Holdridge. I've always wondered what a schooner of beer was. Now I know. The only thing the country agrees on is what constitutes a jug, and that looks puny compared to the English version. Nestlers, the Americans surrounded Noriega's compound and blasted Van Halen at him in an attempt to get him out. Wouldn't work with me if it was the WLP. And a couple of comments on YouTube. He obviously doesn't need more on his plate, but Root really is a significantly better bowler than Leach. Shame he doesn't back himself more.
No, he isn't.
And
No,
Jeff Thomas
he isn't.
and Jeff Thomas says, nice semaphore from Ian, that's me here. Cup of tea with 2 sugars on its way. No, I was just telling my wife I've got 5 minutes to go and then she can make more noise in the kitchen.
Okay. Well, Broady, now that everything does seem to be working, Broad's going to come into the attack.
Sweep the leg, Brody. Got the best headband around. Something has gotta keep her down. Got the best headband around. Your ego ain't gonna be kept down. Got the best headband around. Even though your hair is thinning now.
No longer thinning. He's had a hair transplant.
Has he had a hair transplant?
Yeah, I think it's become public knowledge.
Oh,
now.
for
Not that
fuck's
cricketers
sake.
ever really try and hide it, but yeah.
Well, most of them do. Well, if you're warning, you do an advert, don't you? Or Gucci.
Well, as we know from when we did the Alzat Dice tournament, there's a lot of hair transplant studios who had a lot of cricketers on their testimonials.
Yeah. I guess it's wearing caps and helmets all the time. Doesn't, no sun to the hair. Oh, wow, that turn squares up Labuschagne. I think he's got hit on the arm there. That looks quite painful. On the wrist, even. And he's gone down on one knee. That definitely squared him up.
That beautiful Stuart Broad leg cutter away ducker that he bowls when he's bowling at his best, and that's thumped him on the point of the elbow. Ouch.
Taking time in the matter of a few overs as well.
Let's have a look here at the replay. All comes in, angled in, jags away.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It skimmed the bottom of the elbow onto his thigh, so it's just a little kissing, glancing blow. Ouch.
Right on the point of the elbow, right? You're right there. For a minute, I thought it just double blow, elbow onto maybe unpadded inside thigh as well. Oh yeah. That's the funny bone, man. That's not going to feel great.
Oh, dear.
He's had a few blows today, Labuschagne. To be fair to England's bowlers, he jumped into one by Broad earlier and got it in the ribs.
Yeah, he got hit on the gloves a couple of times. England have done really well to stop a usually free-scoring player from scoring quickly, but he's also done really well to still be there.
Yeah, Broad in again, left alone outside the off stump with a rather weird little jiggy dance as he shoves his back foot out and sort of
Left alone
jumps up.
by a man trying to avoid a runaway dog on the street.
Very weird.
Yes, that's a very good description, Knuckle, yes. It's like when my dog gets under my feet in the kitchen, I back over him and do a little dance.
It's like doing a little bit of river dance or something. Jesus.
Incoming low-flying terrier.
Well, he's never scored an Ashes 100 either, has he, Labuschagne? Mind you, he's only played
Oh, he hasn't.
six innings, 7th innings, 6 innings. Oh, fucking hell. He's been beaten again on the outside edge. And he just can't get a nick. And once again, it goes through to Butler, and there's no run.
If you're being really harsh, you could say England have bowled a few inches too short at times, but that's not that short. It's just actually done too much.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of dragged himself inside of it, but he's been dragged forward by the ball. He's been squared up, and he's definitely playing at it, and it's beating the outside edge. It's on another day, and the same happened in Brisbane, really.
Yeah.
thank
Jesus
goodness
Christ, driving at that one, and again he's beating the outside edge. I mean, this happened 3 balls in a row just before lunch as well, didn't it? Broad came in and had him all ends up. 3 balls in a row, played the same shot, played and missed, and he wouldn't catch the edge.
See, on this occasion, he's gone to drive that. He's tried to get forward, but realised he can't drive at it. He's then had can't get forward to it, rather. He's then actually had a full-blooded drive at it, rather than just playing defensively and I think a lot of the time, he is being beaten, but he's playing the original line, and he's not afraid to look silly on a few occasions.
Well, yeah, true. I mean, that one's gone off the seam and beaten the outside edge. This time, Broad bowls a little bit straighter, and he hops into line, does Labuschagne, and plays it up towards mid-on, and there's no run. But it's a good over from Broad, and really, at times, England really haven't got their just reward.
There's been some very odd cricket today and some very bad cricket today, but there's also been some very good cricket today of batters doing their utmost to survive some good bowling. And some decent bowling to get some life out of what is not by any means a viper of a pitch.
No, and it'll be interesting when England come to bat when we're all out for 147 again. But there you go. Broady comes in. Oh! Inside edge onto pad, I believe. But it was pretty straight. And Labuschagne's getting a few words from Broady with a smile on his face. I think these Ashes are being played in quite a good spirit. I'm just looking at GPL.
Yeah,
What are they on? 212. Messi Jez, if it ends on a 3, could be in.
I think I'm out of here, aren't I?
I believe so. We are due a change. End of that over. Who's on now?
Me.
Me and Knackle and
Me.
Jack.
Oh, Jack. Oh, I'm not on overspill today. That's joyous.
Go home.
I can't go home, mate. I'm still stuck here. But three.
Has the work experience Bishop left?
No, work experience Bishop is very tired, slumped on a sofa next door.
That sounds like suitable work experience, actually. Jack is only here because we're more interesting than the 4 walls he's surrounded by, I think.
There's a cat in here now.
Oh, that's exciting.
James Anderson continuing with this new ball, which is doing things. That one swings but starts too far down leg, and Stephen Smith misses it through to the keeper, no run. You're listening to the last half an hour of day 1 of the second test of the men's 2021-2022 Ashes here on Guerrilla Cricket. I'm Knuckle Mpande, joined by Jack Hope and Jeremy Messi Henderson. This has been a very odd day of test cricket, and I pity anyone who has to write a match report about it.
You?
No. No.
So, what's your judgment of the pitch then, Michael?
2 slips and a gully awaits as this is left alone outside off stump. I think by and large it's a pretty flat and almost featherbeddy pitch, but there's the odd spot in it where it's going a little bit. I think this pink...
I don't think I'd
ball,
call it flat. It's had plenty of bounce.
in the sense that it's come onto the bat in quite a true manner. It's not flying through like it was at Brisbane. I think it looked at times very easy paced, but the odd one is it's doing enough. I think it's decent enough test surface. It's just a little bit slow, as this is full and pushed by Smith into the onside. There is no run. Maybe slow is a better descriptor than flat. I think it's been decent enough. Certainly Brisbane, I think, was a good test wicket.
It'll be interesting to see if the 37 degrees tomorrow bakes it and makes it a little bit faster. Actually,
it could even slow it down more. Just kind of deaden the whole thing. Who knows? Pitch reading is a tricky art. Not too far off. Making lumps of the finest green from lead as this is clipped into the onside, and there is no run. James Anderson shakes his head at nobody in particular.
So what's the betting that England conspire not to take a wicket in the next 25 minutes and then go into tomorrow with a slightly used ball and have to do all of this again?
Certainly the Australia game plan to make something like that happen. As this is I say but it's Stephen Smith. There's no point in oohing when he defends a ball from middle and off stump into the onside, looking like he's going to be LBW, because he's been doing it for most of his test career. There is no run. This partnership has been very much about just getting through the testing period. 36 off 113 balls. Stephen Smith, who's normally very difficult to stop scoring, 10 off 54 minus Labuschagne, similar, approaching a first Ashes 100, but he's been there for 255 balls. 2 slips and a kind of 4th slip. This is down the leg side, and Smith just manages to withdraw the bat at the last minute. Anderson's trying everything to get some life out of this second new ball. He's bowled a maiden. I don't think there's been a run since the new ball was taken. Indeed, no, there hasn't in the 3 overs. Australia 212 for 2.
Missing You Toto says someone will hate Marnus less after today. He says the Webb Street is fine as well. Oxymoronica said, read your post about Coley. He seems to have had his nose put out of joint. Yes, a little.
Oh, that
Mark,
one of many, many tedious non-stories that has come out through people taking BCCI leaks too seriously.
Mark Spooner said Lyon was the first Australian off-spinner to take 200 test wickets, whereas 4 Australian leggies have taken 200. We've had quality offers of Madat Yardi, but they didn't play enough.
Oh, that's a good ball from Stuart Broad. It jags in and keeps a little bit low. There's a half appeal from Stuart Broad. Well, a quarter appeal from Stuart Broad, a half appeal from anyone else, and a yelp from Hasib Hamid at short leg. But I'm pretty sure there was inside edge through the legs. Marnus Labuschagne moves luckily to 95. A grin from Broad to Labuschagne.
Yeah, got away with one a little bit there, Labuschagne. He lived slightly dangerously since the new ball.
He was beaten early in his innings on the outside edge a few times. We saw Stuart Broad beat him 3 times in a row, and we've seen obviously the dropped catch, a tough catch from Butler. We've seen him being hit a couple of times. Certainly not been plain sailing, as 95 for 256 would imply that it has not been. As Broad is into Stephen Smith. This is too wide outside off stump, and Smith leaves through to the keeper. There is no run.
I've got to say, Jack, that I heard the resigned voice of experience in your comment about the possibility of England conspiring not to take another wicket tonight.
Well, I mean, the 2 best Australian batters are at the crease. They're reasonably well set. England haven't been bowling particularly well all day. I think that the way they bowled to Smith, particularly with the new ball, is wrong. So yeah, I think there's a decent chance. A decent chance we'll be back tomorrow.
As Broad is in very full, that's down the leg side, and Smith didn't play it particularly well. Nearly bowling ran his legs, actually, Stuart Broad, but it misses the stumps and the inside edge, and there is no run. I'm interested in what way do you think that they bowled incorrectly at Stephen Smith?
I think not necessarily that ball, but they bowl too far outside off stump. They make it too easy for him to leave the ball. They've got what have they got? What's the field now? 3 slips, a gully, a point. Probably
it's 2 slips, a gully, and a short leg.
I think you slightly more counterintuitively want to take that gully, put them in the leg side.
Can't see the rest of the leg side field. This is outside off stump, and that's an easy leave. Well, I was talking about this in just now with Bear, that India had a lot of success bowling very straight at Smith and Labuschagne and taking the offside out as a scoring option. And actually, Robinson was doing that quite well to Stephen Smith earlier on, and Broad has looked to be troubling Smith a little bit when he's been bowling a little bit straighter. So I think that is probably right, is that they need to be at least making him play. There is a leg. There's a leg.
The leg gully
now
has come in, yeah.
Short leg has moved from leg gully. That's a good shot from Smith. He is a good cover driver of the ball despite his leg side dominance, and he's put that away. It was a full half volley, and it was put away very sweetly by Stephen Smith to the cover boundary for 4. His second boundary of the innings moves to 14. Australia 217 for 2.
See, but this though I think is an example of Stuart Broad's missed where he wants to bowl here, but I think he's missed in the wrong area, if that makes sense. You want to miss and bowl a leg stump half volley or an off stump half volley, I think, not a half volley 2 feet wide of off stump.
The idea of this field is to trap him on the crease and get him challenging both edges with seam movement. But to do that, you've got to be a little straighter than that. That's a good line.
That's it, yeah.
That's a good line. Targeting off stump from a little wider in the crease, just sort of mid-crease, and Smith walking across his stumps and pushing into the onside. If Stuart Broad can hammer away at that line and length for a little while, he might have some success. 84 overs gone of this day. We've got another 19 minutes of play in Adelaide. Australia 217 for 2.
Warren says, the mention of a cat in Jack's room brings the movie Fallen to mind. I'm not familiar with that. I don't know if it's something that means something to you. Leah gives us a match report. 50s cricket aficionados will be delighted by the day's play. Not that many runs, not many wickets. If you would excuse me now, I need to find a sledgehammer and go to town on my genitals with it. Probably more fun. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I can't agree with that. There have been there haven't been very many days of dead Test cricket actually recently, but there have been a few, and this hasn't been one of them.
No, I agree. It's still been interesting.
I don't know. I think if this is between England and Sri Lanka, this is a proper 3 out of 10 day.
Yeah, although I think given relative pitch conditions, that just wouldn't happen in England or Sri Lanka.
No, that's fair enough. But it's look, it's okay. It's the Ashes. It's on at a nice-ish time for people in the UK. There've been engaging moments.
It's been a solid 6 out of 10. This is good line and length from Anderson to Labuschagne, straight and pushed into the onside short mid-wicket field, and there is no run. Yeah, it's not been. We've seen some absolutely incredible days of Test cricket recently as well, and this hasn't been one of those either. But it's been a solid 6.5 out of 10.
Maxwell wants the stats for Brody with and without his headband. He's sure he's seen them somewhere, but can't find them. If anybody's done it, it would be Andy Zaltzman, I would imagine.
He did have a pretty ridiculous summer of 2020, didn't he? When he started wearing the headband, because that was a COVID thing. Lightsaber leave from Darth Marnus outside off stump, and it's through to the keeper. There is no run. As Marnus Labuschagne, the apprentice, plots to kill his Sith Lord Master Stephen Smith at the other end.
How long left? 17 minutes. Will he get his ton? Probably.
Yeah.
Sort of by accident if he gets there, because he sort of... This has felt like an innings where he just wants to be there for a while and runs will sort of happen to him. Which he is good enough to do, as Anderson is in bowling from mid-crease. That's a very good delivery. That's full and tailing in a little bit. And Labuschagne drops down on it and pushes it to Ben Stokes at short extra cover, and there is no run.
I'm surprised to see he's actually hit 7 fours and Smith's just hit the 2.
Well, he was fed a couple of short balls by Ben Stokes.
That's true, yeah.
The first quite long spell of short bowling, I think, was fair enough. The second, yes, it did get a wicket, but really that was rather unedifying. And a bit of a waste of resources. Anderson in. Edged and dropped! Joss Butler dropped a tough chance earlier. That, by the standards of any decent wicketkeeper, was a sitter. It was outside off stump. Labuschagne had a fend at it. He wasn't really sure what shot he was trying to play, and Joss Butler spilled it. Marnus Labuschagne was dropped on 21. He's now been dropped on 95.
Fuck off! Just fuck off!
That is a... Oh, he's just snatched at it a little bit.
Such a clanger.
It's one of those, I can't even tell what he's done wrong. It's just sort of hit the gloves and bounced straight out again.
Oh, Jesus. It's a rotten
That
shot,
is
too.
real shocker of a...
As Anderson is in, that's an angry delivery down the leg side, which Marnus Labuschagne leaves through to the keeper. There is no run. He's ended up, Butler, not really moving his feet and just sort of lunging at the ball with his hands, and normally his footwork is pretty good. That was the work of someone who is either tired or not concentrating or both. See what I mean here? His feet are rooted in concrete and he's just lunged at it at the last second, and sometimes that works. Even so, he got most of his hands to it. A bizarre failure of technique from Joss Butler.
I mean, to be honest, if he'd gone one-handed and caught that and dropped that, it would have been
This is outside off stump and left alone through to the keeper. Wow. James Anderson's resting grumpy walk gets grumpier.
Ooh, yes.
He should have had at least one, maybe 2 wickets today. Marnus Labuschagne survives. Australia 217 for 2.
I'm in the position of finding myself agreeing with Gary Naylor, who says it's a pitch-up wicket on which England inexplicably bowled short far too often. I can see some up and down affecting play on day 4 and beyond. England should have been at the top of off stump all day. When they were good. I think that's pretty fair. Warren said they should have sent David Lee Roth inside. Oh, that was in relation to Noriega's compound. David Ely said, and how many times in the last 10 years have England bowled too short on wickets that demanded pitching up?
And yet, James Anderson and Stuart Broad have 1,156 Test wickets. People really... I'm convinced that people like finding things to complain about. As Ollie Robinson replaces Stuart Broad, starts with a poor ball down the leg side. There is no run off the bowling of Ollie Robinson.
I have to say, I don't think it is really a pitch-up wicket. Every time anyone has, it's been nailed.
It's just full of a good length
It's a good batting wicket. If you start putting the ball up there, it's not really swung or seamed. You start putting the ball up there, you'll get hit.
Yeah, but you've got to put it up further than it has been.
Maybe,
Well,
but we're talking. I don't even.
I think it's a classic top of off, just outside wicket, like most Test wickets. Two steps in the gully and a leg gully, as Robinson is fuller, and because Robinson does get a little bit of bounce, he can afford to bowl a little bit fuller than most. Smith blocks back to the bowler, then there is no run.
And when England have looked good is when they've done exactly what you said there, Knackle. Targeted the top of off, Test match length. They don't have to go searching.
No, which is why I keep saying that certainly the second short ball spell was odd.
Yeah, I mean the short ball spells. Yeah, well.
Robinson in full and driven by Smith. Robinson gets half a hand on it, and it might take enough on it for James Anderson to reach it, and he does. It's quite a slow outfield. They will come through for 3 runs, I think. Yeah, I think the outfield might actually have been left a little bit more lush to protect the pink ball.
That could be true. I've wondered as well, because I thought this at the in the first test as well. Did they have a different type of grass on the outfield because of Aussie rules football? And perhaps that's.
I'm not sure. I mean, there was so much
grass.
There was so much rain in Brisbane that I'm not at all surprised that the outfield was a bit slower than you expect.
Sorry.
As Robinson is in. How on earth has Marnus Labuschagne managed to not glove that behind? It's a really good ball from Robinson, rising from back of a length. Labuschagne went to play at it, nearly edged it, nearly gloved it, but managed to just about drag everything, and the ball moved enough that he survives.
I would
good, but he's been
suspect
lucky.
It's different sorts of grass between here and Brisbane, given the very different weather conditions that it experienced.
Robinson has bowled pretty well today. That's a good lead from Marnus Labuschagne, tighter to off stump and left going over the top of off stump, and there is no run.
Different beers, different grass.
Oh yeah, well I mean it's a long way away, and it's very, very different. Adelaide is the driest city in the driest continent in the world, so
drier than Perth.
Yep.
Really?
Perth gets about the same amount of rain as London. It's just all in the winter. Yeah.
Oh, okay. When cricket fans in England never see it. This is outside off stump, and Marnus Labuschagne essentially flinches at the ball, even though he was nowhere near the ball and wasn't really trying to be anywhere near the ball. Outside off stump. A decent enough over from Ollie Robinson. 3 runs off it. Australia 220 for 2.
Joss has inspired a few tweets. Angelic Scooters all in capitals. Oh, for fuck's sake, Joss. Ronnie Omelette says, anyone remember Ben Folkes? Warren says,
is this where we all start pretending that Joss Butler is somehow some sort of clown wearing oven mitts for catching?
Occasionally. Warren says, how long do we have to put up with a non-wicket keeper behind the pointy sticks in Test?
He is a wicket keeper.
Need the 1S and 2 T's jingle for Joss Butler. And Sam Kelly says, any chance that England will start picking a wicket-keeper who can catch?
I remember saying this about Joss Butler the first time I ever saw him keep for England, is that he strikes me as the type of wicket-keeper who, because of his athleticism, can take very difficult catches but will sometimes drop very easy ones.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blinder he took this morning.
It was a really good catch.
I think Butler had a run, didn't he, behind the stumps where he didn't drop anything for 2 years.
Off the seams, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what he does. That's his job.
Yeah.
I mean, that was diabolical. But let's not pretend he is some oven mitt wielding clown. He's a decent wicketkeeper.
Yeah, he's not a great wicketkeeper, but he's certainly adequate. Is in to Stephen Smith. Wider on the crease, and Smith has actually done quite well there because he was suckered by the ball going down leg, but then manages to leave it alone through to Butler, and there is no run. This is what I mean about the I think that discussion we had at the start of this commentary spell. The pitch is not flat, but it is just slow enough that you can recover from minor misjudgments.
Yeah. That one, he doesn't quite play it, does he? Yeah, it doesn't rush him too much, so he has the time to withdraw the bat.
And yeah, I know it might be interesting when Jai Richardson's bowling on this at some point tomorrow, who is quite a bit quicker. as this is outside off stump. And nicely played by Smith, managing to get the ball into the offside, just dropping and running, bringing Marnus Labuschagne within 5 runs of a first Ashes Test 100 onto strike.
Gary Naylor makes the point the top of off stump is 3 feet further up in Australia than it is almost anywhere else in the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know, people often like to say, "Oh, England aren't hitting the stumps enough." You look at the pitch map of Hazelwood and Cummins and McGrath before them. Not many of their deliveries are hitting the stumps just because of the bounce.
I think Cummins, something like 2/3 of his wickets are caught in the slips. It's miles higher than sort of equivalent bowlers.
As Broad goes wider on the crease and Marnus Labuschagne turns through a 180 as he leaves this. On that occasion, it was as though somebody has got some electrodes in him and has pressed a button.
That's about right. Farong has retweeted a video clip of Joss's drop. If anybody wants to look at that, that's on our timeline.
Very, very bizarre. Oh, he didn't move his feet. Even so, he should have caught it.
Yeah, I mean...
Or at least dropped it into the hands of first slip, which sometimes happens. As Broad is in, there is a leg slip in place. That's a good ball. But again, it's just enough time for Marnus Labuschagne, who has been there for 267 deliveries, to drop the hands on it into the offside. And there is no run.
Well, we can get 88 overs.
Yeah, not
more
bad.
after this.
Considering.
Yeah, for everyone.
One more after this.
That's basically because Joe Root was bowled.
Maybe 89.
Joe Root bowled 6 overs at a sprint.
Yeah.
And yes, we have had the extra half an hour. But as people listeners to this show know, I can rarely get involved in complaining about over rates. England's was ridiculous in the first test, and fair enough, but it's really not something... Of the many problems that cricket has, it's not in my top 20. This is outside off stump and left through to the keeper. There is no run.
Yeah, can't say it's ever bothered me either.
Jeff Thomas on YouTube says he's wondering if his summer exposure to T20 has reduced his patience for Test cricket. That's possible.
Tell you what, actually, the only time over rates does bother me is in some of those IPL games where they go on for 4 hours, and you're like, just bowl. You know, it doesn't take an hour to bowl 10 overs. That's the only time I think I've actually been frustrated at over rates is in those games.
As Broad is in, this is left alone outside off stump. Marnus Labuschagne again turns through 180, but this time without seeming to have had his right leg electrocuted. 1 run off the over, and not especially threatening one from Stuart Broad. Australia 1 short of the Ritchie, 221 for 2.
Matt Searle says, bring back Bairstow. Actually, don't. Yeah. Rocky V says, England are such a frustrating team to watch, and I think he reflects a lot of views in relation to that.
That's fair enough, but name me one team whose supporters are not frustrated by them.
Oh, I don't think
New Zealand.
Australian...
Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah, I mean, I think the frequency of frustration for England watchers is probably greater than.
We do every England Test match. It's a self-selecting group.
England do pump themselves up like to extraordinary heights.
As Robinson is in outside off stump and left alone through to the keeper, there is no run. I suppose the resources gap between England and a lot of other countries in the world does add to that.
They do. I mean, like also they started the summer with their captain saying we're going to win, or we want to win 7 matches in a row. That sort of statement and that sort of hype inevitably leads to disappointment, and I think that's where the frustration comes from. Is that nobody's sitting around acknowledging that this is actually quite a average Test side, decent at home, can't really travel.
Yeah.
As Robinson is in off a slightly angled run up that he has, bowls from mid crease. This is outside off stump and left alone through to the keeper. There is no run. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that I might be one of the very few people who doesn't think that England are absolutely awful.
Awful?
They're an average. They're an average mid-rank Test team.
They've got 4 or 5 great players. Stokes, Root, Anderson, Broad at home. Robinson looks pretty decent.
Archer when fit.
Yeah, that's a decent set of players. They haven't really got a top order. That's a problem. The wicket-keeper is okay.
Ollie Pope will probably be good.
Yeah, eventually, and the fourth bowler's not.
That's a good ball from
too-
Robinson, and this one jags in and over the top of off stump through to the keeper. There is no run. Yeah, Chris Wokes is a real handful in England.
Yeah, and then away from him, it gets exposed a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, it's Leach not fantastic in the last test, and Wokes hasn't been bad today, but
No, he's been a little bit. His first spell was good. He's been a little bit ineffectual in the middle phase. I'd actually quite like to see him with the new ball. I wonder if he will get a spell at the other end, the one Ollie Robinson is currently bowling from. That's too far down the leg side, and Butler sort of falls at it and takes it. There is no run. But yeah, I think India and New Zealand are comfortably the two best teams in Test cricket, and then I think there is quite a big gap to England, Australia and Pakistan in the sort of next rank.
I think Australia are probably a little bit above the next rank.
Their middle order in a lot of conditions against good bowlers is shaky.
Yeah, for sure. But I think Smith and Labuschagne elevate them, and they've got four good bowlers.
This is down the leg side. There is a leg gully in place and a short mid wicket. Let alone through to the keeper. There is no run. Yeah, I think there are a lot of. They don't have a. They've never found, or not never, but not for a while, found a good opening partner for David Warner. Obviously, Labuschagne caused a huge amount of problems, but the 5, 6, and 7 still very much finding its way.
No, they're not fab, are they?
No. I mean, this is how Test cricket goes. It's really quite hard to be good at Test cricket.
And to find 11 people who are good at Test cricket as well.
Yeah, or 14 or 15 now as you need. This is outside off stump and through to the keeper. There is no run. It makes New Zealand success all the more remarkable given the player pool. Australia 221 for 2, a maiden from Robinson. We've got time for one more over.
Well, interestingly, the 2-2-3 that I've got, I share with somebody else. I don't know if you can check who that is, Bear. Is very much in play for the GPL.
CCC keeper.
CCC keeper, there you go. Gary Naylor says Marnus looks as fresh as England look tired. I'm not entirely sure.
I agree with that. I'm not sure I'd agree with that. I think he'll sleep well tonight, put it that way.
He might need a bit of rehydration.
Says Johnny B must be stewing in his seat. Time for fakes to fill the gloves once and for all. Warren says adequate sums up England Test cricket in one word.
Kinder than most people have been this year.
They do normally field a full 11.
England were quite good in sort of the latter part of 2019 and through 2020.
John Bathan channels not Fred and says, I know I sound like a broken record, but not playing your best wicket-keeper at Test level will bite you on the arse. Butler is not Test class as a keeper, and his 2 misses today may have cost us the game.
He's basically fine. As Broad is going to bowl the last over, and Marnus Labuschagne electrocutes himself on both legs this time as he jumps to get out of the way of a ball that wasn't in his way. Through to the keeper, there is no run. I am convinced that Marnus Labuschagne is starting to incorporate these elements into his game to annoy the opposition bowlers. And frankly, I respect him all the more for it if that's true.
Yeah. Well, they serve no purpose, do they?
It's horrible to watch.
Marnus Labuschagne, 95 of 270 deliveries, is forward and is beaten by this delivery from Stuart Broad that just keeps on going. I mean, he sort of played inside the line, but he was beaten as well. Through to the keeper, there is no run. He is the best player of a play and miss that I have seen in Test cricket in a long time.
Yeah, I think he's only scored 1 run since the new ball. That was an inside edge.
I mean, he hasn't really tried to score a run.
No, he hasn't. No, it's.
And Stephen Smith, 18 off 71 to collector's item as well. He's normally the classic. Hang on, he's on 30. How?
It's jam tomorrow though.
As this is back of a length and comes off the thigh pad into the onside, there is no run. It's not always you can say this, but the runs, or rather the deliveries, survived, and the plays and misses this morning translated into runs in the afternoon and the evening when England were looking knackered. Those bad short balls and those spells of root bowling because no one else wanted to, but Warner was able to put away and Labuschagne will put away, they were very well earned by Australia.
Absolutely.
3 balls left of what's been an interesting and hard to read day. This is outside off stump. It's a decent delivery, but Labuschagne was never going to be drawn into playing at that, and there is no run.
Omri Nuevo says there's no denying Butler is great in the shorter forms of the game. His batter exceptional and good with the gloves, but adequate as wicket-keeping tests and erratic with the bat is not currently good enough. Folks, please.
Yeah. It's like 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other.
Farong's view is that he needs facial hair to be able to be a proper test player.
Got a little bit. I mean, he's had a sort of permanent 5 o'clock shadow, Josh Butler, for the last few years. Full delivery, Broad of course appeals as the ball hits Marnus Labuschagne on the pad, but it's going down leg, and even Stuart Broad thinks it's going down leg, so it's probably not hitting a third set, and there is no run. Do you remember, of course, that England lost 2 reviews earlier today in fairly short order after getting the wicket of Marcus Harris, who was the first to fall, caught brilliantly by Josh Butler down the leg side. In fact, there was a big inside edge as well on that delivery, and then the next wicket fell nearly 60 overs later when David Warner smashed a Ben Stokes long hop straight to Stuart Broad at cover, and it was impossible to work out who was more surprised, Warner, Stokes or Broad.
I just want 2 runs from this ball, please.
Sounded so plaintive when you said that. Well, there's a no run from Marnus Labuschagne off that delivery as it's pushed into the onside. The GPL evades Messi Jez and CCC keeper, and Marnus Labuschagne
16 dot balls, I tell you.
And Stephen Smith evade the clutches of the close fielders. They evade Broad and Anderson with the second new ball. You certainly can't say that England wasted the second new ball. They did make Labuschagne and Smith play. The Labuschagne was beaten repeatedly outside off stump. Stephen Smith was tied down and made to play, and Australia have had to scrap today on a pitch that is not easy. It's not a Viper, but it's not easy against a odd England bowling display where Anderson for his none for 29, Broad for his 1 for 34, and Robinson for his none for 34 have been good, at times very good. Chris Wokes was okay for his none for 36. Joe Root bowled 11 overs, none for 37 that were mostly to try and get through to the second new ball, and Ben Stokes bowled a frankly bizarre spell of 13 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 50. The first part of it, the first spell was good, the second part was largely forgettable, apart from the, as was described, late period Botham-esque wicket of David Warner, who fell for 95. Marcus Harris went very early for 3, but Warner and Labuschagne put on their second 150-plus partnership in 2 test matches, their third overall, 172, and Stephen Smith and Marnus Labuschagne put on 45 of 150. Marnus Labuschagne will start tomorrow on 95 off 275. Stephen Smith on 18 not out off 71. An interesting day that I'm struggling to read, but Australia will be very much the happier at the end of.
Indeed.
Results-wise, it's a huge win for Australia. Yeah, 2 for 221. Yeah, you know, it's an 8 out of 10. If they had an extra 30 or 40 runs, it would be right up there. I think they'll think tomorrow that they can press on after getting themselves in for those first 2 sessions, and think about a 450 type score. You know, they'll want England to be batting under the lights tomorrow evening, won't they? So they've got, I reckon, in their minds, 2 and a bit sessions. Yeah. To get 220, and I think they give themselves a really good chance of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, equally a lot could happen tomorrow, and some of that luck could turn around for England, and Australia could be bowled out for 350, but I think they'd still take 320, 350 on a pitch that's doing a little bit, and it'll be really interesting to see how Mitchell Starc leading the attack, Michael Neser on debut, who I'm a big fan of, having watched a little bit of him in domestic red ball cricket in England and Australia, and Jai Richardson, who's got pace, will do with this pink kookaburra. No Patrick Cummins, no Josh Hazlewood. You know, England have done well-ish to not be completely out of this, but Australia are very much on top at the end of day 1.
Yeah. That's the perfect summary. There's not an awful lot to add. I think tomorrow's first session probably will decide the outcome of the match. If Australia get to lunch, another wicket down, another 2 wickets down, with another 150 on the board.
You heard it here, Fifth.
I can't see England won't come back from that. They're not a good enough team. So, that'll be it. They basically have to take 6 Australian wickets in the morning or something ridiculous like that to salvage any hopes of winning this.
We should go to some final tweets before we wrap up and get off air, and everyone can get on with whatever's left of their day wherever they are.
There's a few about Butler which I won't go through, except for one that Gary says, which his brother made a valuable point. Butler hasn't played enough 90-over days in the field to summon the concentration, and I think that's probably quite germane. The Joshua Letchford says, the English cricket team reminds me of the Australian rugby team. The Wallabies are the only Australian sport team that are A, prestigious, and B, shit. Not Fred Titmus has actually joined us after I said that he was being channeled, and he said, well, maybe he's just a shit keeper. And we'll leave it at that. And thank you all very much for being part of it through the middle of your night and early morning for many of you, and look forward to joining you again tomorrow.
Yeah, and thanks for sticking with us through some bizarre technical difficulties that we can't really adequately explain. And a very well done to asleep Tony Bishop on a good first day of his unpaid internship as sort of technical supervisor.
Yes, indeed.
But until 3:45 a.m. Tomorrow UK time, it's goodbye from everybody here at Guerrilla Cricket. Bye.
Guerrilla Cricket.